Well, hey everybody. Yeah, look what happened. I went to sleep at the wrong time. This thing made a fool out of me because this morning's broadcast, I said I really didn't think it would make hurricane. And it did as soon as I lay down. So, this is really cool streaming this time of day because I still got some visible satellite. As you can see, though, it starts to fade out. But yeah, not long after I did that 8 o'clock this morning broadcast, I started to notice on the visible satellite as I was able to start get it uh, that it was really blowing up right around the center. Now on the ticker there at the bottom, as you all probably know, this is a Cat 1 hurricane now. And let's go ahead and go full screen. And on the 5 o'clock, the latest update, it's now 80 mile per hour winds moving northwest at 14. Hey, Raven, Rick, Doc, Jane, Debbie Barnes over on YouTube. I see you over there. And everybody else that's not in the chat. If you're not in the chat, please join in. Feel free to ask questions. So, as we get started here, I want to just briefly talk about Erwin. Erwin has been downgraded. This morning it was a tropical storm. Now it's a tropical depression. It's dropped down to 35 mile an hour winds, moving northwest at 13. Pressure 1,006 millibars. And here's the cone for it. They kind of changed the cone. This is the latest information that I have. And they are thinking it'll bump back up to tropical storm. Just going to miss Maine. Excuse me. So that's it for Erwin. Now, this morning, Nathan had joined me here, and he mentioned that it looked like Erwin was going south. But what it was is there's some shear up there. I'll let it load the frames up here. And you'll be able to see the center. See, the center's way up here. All the storms are to the south of it. So that made it look, like it was going south. But it's actually going north. Northwest. Here, I'll load up. And let's bring this down so I can illustrate it for you guys. Because I didn't have it on the right screen. Sorry about that. Anyway, you can see the center right there where my pointer is. And all the storms are blowing up on the south side. So that made it this morning look like it was going south instead of northwest. Again, here's a visible satellite that I should have been showing you. I'm not wide awake yet. There you can see the center of the circulation. That's Erwin. That's enough about Erwin. Let's get down to the hurricane. And let's talk about this. Now, there were some things that I noticed this morning after I got done with the broadcast. And let's back this up. This is the oldest image that I got on GR Earth. See how she looks a little ragged down here? And notice, okay, the center on this old image is about right there. That's where the center was this morning. Notice that most of the storms is over here. Not so much on the west side. That saved Puerto Rico a bunch. And I believe what is happening at this point is it was sucking in some dry air. Now, I'll switch over to water vapor. And there you can see this brown. And in between these bands is inflow. So it was starting to suck this dry air. Started to suck this dry air right in there. And that kind of kept the storms from building all the way around it. It's mostly eastern loaded, as they put it. And here you could really tell it in infrared. I'll go ahead and put this in motion. And you can see how that southwest part of it just didn't want to fill in. Now, I really thought this morning that it couldn't get strong enough to be a Cat 1 because of it sucking in that dry air. But by golly, it fooled me. So other than hitting the Virgin Islands, which I have a dear friend, she's a chef on a boat that's down there, and I seen some of her video. I think she was around St. Thomas. They got whipped around pretty good on that boat. She said they couldn't get it on dry land fast enough, so they had to anchor it there in the bay and ride it out. And it was pretty wicked video. I think even her husband's video might have been showed on the Weather Channel. So let's go back and look at visible. And I want to zoom in here as tight as I can because I want to show you something. Can you tell where the center is? Boom. There you can see the eye. That's the center. It's not a very well-defined eye as far as the satellite view. But you could definitely see the storms really blowing up right around that center. Ain't that cool? I love the satellite view of a hurricane. Although this isn't as well defined as most of them that I worked around with, but it's still pretty cool. Now let's look at the radar. Now this is the radar site out of Puerto Rico. You could definitely see the center. Notice the storms around that center isn't filled in all the way around. So it doesn't have a very well-defined eye wall on it yet. But it's working on it. It is getting stronger. It has sped up a tiny bit, 1 mile per hour. Now I really do expect, this morning when I mentioned that it might hit Florida on Saturday, that's because I got the feeling when it goes into warmer waters, that it will speed up. And if it does, it'll hit sooner. As of right now, at its current speed, they're discussing landfall sometime Sunday night into Monday morning. So let's go ahead with screens here, and let's look at the hurricane. Look at the cone for it. Okay, this is definitely updated. Now look at this cone. They've got it going more into the Gulf than what they had this morning. And if you see here and here and up here close to Tampa, it's got the letter M. That means it's going to be a major hurricane. They're calling for it to be a Cat 3 by the time it comes into Florida. Now, it still can go anywhere in this cone. And some of the models this morning actually had it curving up the coast. Yeah, like I said the other day, this thing was a very compact tropical storm. I think that's the only reason that it held itself together. And the bad thing about being small, if it would have hit the mountains there in Puerto Rico, it would have killed it easier than if it was a large storm. But it being a small tropical storm, they can ramp up quicker than a big one. And if you stop and think about it, it makes perfect sense too. Because when the storm's really big, it's got to pull in more and more energy for it to ramp up. It's like taking, let's say, a 100 horsepower motor and put that in a Volkswagen. It'll get from 0 to 60 faster than if you had that 100 horsepower motor in a pickup truck. So kind of think of it that way. If this thing is going to make landfall on Monday, Nathan said he's not going down there. He was in the chat this morning. I do believe Jennifer McMahon might be going down. And there might be Michael Koch, and I think it's one of the Kyles. I can't remember which one it is. I think he talked about going down there. So that's what he said this morning, Jen, because he has to work. So if it's going to make landfall on Monday, he's not going to go. If it makes landfall on Saturday or Sunday, then he's going. Now, like I was saying, I really think this thing's going to speed up. If it does, it's going to make landfall even sooner. Yeah, its track shifted. Definitely shifted. And here's something, the models yesterday, all the different ensemble tracks, as they ran every one of them over and over, had it on one path. Well, this morning, it was located north of what those models were showing. And there's a reason why. That the models apparently didn't take into consideration. And I want to show you this. We'll zoom out here. Originally, it was going to hit somewhere between Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. Then last night they was talking about it hitting on the western half of Puerto Rico. Well, guess what? It went over the Virgin Islands off to the east, and the eye never made landfall in Puerto Rico. But I want to switch to water vapor mode here and let it load up the tiles. And I want you to notice something. Watch this area right here. That's an upper level low. Okay? I'll put it back in motion. There you see the counterclockwise spin. That could be nudging us. It most likely is. Now, the other day, the models was showing that upper level low to be down in here. So, because of this being up here with this counterclockwise spin, for one thing, it's helping to drive that dry air into that eastern side or western side. Excuse me. So that's the reason why it's a little lopsided. Plus, it's got some wind shear, that being an upper level low. Now another thing it's doing, because of that spin of the low, it's changed its direction and made it go slightly north. Because originally, last night, they had it going kind of like that. And instead, it's going like that. Okay, Jen, we'll catch you later. So that upper level low is doing two things. It's helping to steer it from its original path, as well as forcing that dry air into it. And the shear. That makes it kind of lopsided as well. And that low, it isn't really moving. They were expecting it to drift south, but so far it's not really moving. So that's going to play a role on its path. And I do believe that's the reason why they have this cone, how it goes up and then it turns to the left. That's because of this low that's right there, or in that areas. And so it's going to make it curve around it. Now another thing too is there's going to be a high pressure. Remember, high pressure spins clockwise. Let it load up all the frames here. Now you can't see the high very well right now, but it's going to be forming somewhere in this area. There's going to be a high pressure forming, and that is what's going to make that left hand turn. That's the reason why that cone is going up around that low, and then the high is going to push it. Now how strong this high is going to be is going to determine, which way it exactly goes. So anybody that's watching, if you're in Florida, go ahead and start getting prepared. If you live in Georgia, they're around Savannah, or South Carolina, North Carolina, I would watch this thing carefully and start getting prepared. Put together an emergency kit, have an emergency route to evacuate to a safe place, already figure out a good safe place for you to be. We'll know more as it gets closer. But I would start thinking today. I know there was a guy on here the other night. He lives in Cape Canaveral, and I'm not seeing him on. I would definitely, start boarding up the windows. Now, boarding the windows won't stop objects from going through and going into your house, but it will slow the wind field down. And the less wind you have coming through that window, the less chance of your roof blowing off. Don't bother taping your windows. Taping windows, from what they've been saying on the Weather Channel, and they proved it, that's going to be more dangerous because the tape will hold larger pieces of the glass together, and it'll be even more dangerous than if you didn't tape at all. Of course, the best thing to have is shutters. Bulletproof glass, that would help. So let's take a gander at the models. I haven't looked at them yet. I just woke up not long ago. Believe it or not, though, I only got 2 hours sleep. I got about an hour and woke up, fiddled around. I started to do a 11 o'clock broadcast, and I laid back down. So then I thought about doing the 2 o'clock, and I tossed and turned, but I was so tired after being up all night. But I finally got about 2 hours sleep. Got up about 3:30 a couple hours ago. Let's go to our tropical tidbits, forecast models. See what the latest models are. Come on. That's a good question. Some of the models are suggesting that it's going to go into the Gulf and then make a second landfall. That's what we're going to take a look at. Now, this is the GFS. Here comes Dorian down in that bottom right. Well, my internet's slow. Come on, load up. Let me just go through these real quick and then I'll go back. I had 2 large cups of coffee from the store this morning. Plus, I drank one of those Mountain Dew voltages. I think that's the reason why I couldn't get to sleep. I don't know why it's not loading up all these. I'll just go ahead and play it, let it load them all, and then we'll look at them. Yeah, Doc, Jennifer's is too. Okay, there we go. There it's hitting around Jacksonville, Florida. Goes inland. Meanders around. Now, this is totally different than what it was late last night. I gotta back this up. Because I live here in Southwest Ohio. And right there, Looks like I'm going to see some of the moisture, some of the storms possibly from this thing. Now, the GFS last night had it come at inland, right about the same place, and then go right up the coast and then out to sea. Now, let's take a look at the Euro. And I want lines of equal pressure, 850 millibar winds. And let's go back to the beginning. Yeah, Kentucky will get it too, according to the GFS. Okay, let's go ahead and play this so it'll load up all the images. Now the Euro has got it making landfall further south, and I like the Euro better than anything when it comes to tropical storms. Okay, let's go one step at a time. Here she comes, or he comes. Now look where it's making landfall. Southern Florida. Where the GFS had it coming up here. And she goes out in the Gulf, meanders a little bit, makes landfall in Alabama. Makes a right turn. Now this is as far as this run is going right now. So let's look at another model. I'm not sure I'm liking this icon. It's the first time I've ever used it. This is the first storm I've ever used it. And it's kind of saying what the Euro does. It don't go near as far out as the Euro does. So let's take a look at another one. Here's another one that I've been playing with. And I got to let it play to let everything load up here. Now, while this is loading up, at this point now that it's past Puerto Rico, there is nothing to slow this down except for that low, upper level low that I showed you. It's not a real strong one, but it is creating some wind shear. Now this is similar to the Euro. Here comes Dorian. Hits around Miami. Goes a little bit into the Gulf and then back through Georgia. So there's another model. Let me check something here. There was one of these models that I really liked because it showed wind shear, and I don't remember which one it is. I know it's not the Euro. Not that one. Daggone it, which one was it? I thought it was the nav gem. Oh, yeah. This is wind shear. Let's get back. That may be a little hard to see. I'll blow this up. Okay, here's Dorian. Right here is that upper level low. And if you could see the arrows, the winds are going that direction and that direction around that upper level low. So definitely some wind shear happening. Now let's watch out ahead of Dorian as I move this ahead. It starts punching through that shear. Then at that point, there's no red or yellow out ahead of it. It's either on one side or the other. That's some of its own shear. So once it busts around or through this upper level low, according to what I'm seeing here, there's nothing to stop this thing from really intensifying. Could it make Cat 4? Who knows? A little early to tell. But the models are suggesting that it will be. I don't know why I keep hitting that. I kept doing that this morning too. So, other than that low, I don't see anything. The more northwest it goes, the warmer the waters. Now, if it goes over into the Gulf, the waters are in the 90s, 90-degree temperatures in the Gulf. It's actually warmer than the east side of Florida. But the east side of Florida is in the mid to upper 80s. So, still pretty warm. There you have Dorian. Daggone little bugger. Pissed me off. Making Cat 1 while I was trying to sleep. Yeah, everybody in Florida, start putting together what you're going to need to do. Definitely build an emergency kit. Now, there's got to kind of think, okay, most likely you're not going to have electricity. That means get some cash out of the bank because the credit card machines are not going to work. Yeah, I just mentioned Skyborn. It's going to be a Cat 3 is what the models are showing when it hits Florida. But have cash on hand. Have some canned goods. Now remember, you need a can opener, manual one. You know, not an electric one, unless you're going to have a portable generator. And do not operate that portable generator inside. You got to have it outside. It's very dangerous. Hey, thanks for the new follow. And you want non-perishable foods. Canned goods, crackers, peanut butter, spaghetti, stuff like that. Stuff that won't go bad. They're saying 1 gallon of water per person per day and have enough for 7 days. But it wouldn't hurt to have more water. because with the flooding, all the water is going to be polluted. With the power out, I doubt if you'll get any water. They won't be able to pump water unless it's gravity fed. But still, and another cool thing that I want to talk. Deck, gun it. I quit. I keep hitting that wrong scene. Hand's still a little shaky from all the caffeine I had this morning. Your cell phone. Be sure you're going to have a way to charge it. I wouldn't trust well water after a major flood. I would not trust well water because of the pollution from the flooding is going to soak into the wells. I would not trust it. Be sure to have a way to charge your phone. You can have extra batteries if your phone allows you to switch out batteries. Some don't. You can buy pretty inexpensively these power packs that you plug into your phone and it'll recharge your phone. Also, all new cell phone, it's got a flashlight in it, right? Well, you take that bottle of water or a gallon of water, turn your phone so your flashlight's pointing up. And you could try this sometime. This is really cool. You take that water and put it over top of your flashlight on your phone. And that whole bottle will light up like a little lantern. I did it with a large Gatorade bottle. Hey, thanks, Gary. Appreciate it, bud. But I tried it with a Gatorade bottle, a large one, when a bunch of us was sitting outside, and it lit up the whole table that we was sitting around. It's really cool. Or if you got, like a flashlight you strap on your head, battery powered flashlight, that goes around, the band goes around your head. Take and put that over that gallon of water with that light shining in it, and it'll light up that whole gallon of water. Now, some other things to think about. Do you take medicine? If you do, be sure your prescriptions are filled. If not, get them refilled. Same way with your pets. If your pets have special needs, be sure to get everything that they're going to need, including food and medicine, whatever, to get them by as well. Important papers. Really, anybody that lives in a hurricane-prone area should have a portable safe. Sort of looks like a small suitcase that's fireproof and waterproof. Keep all your important papers and stuff in that so it won't get wet. Yeah, if you evacuate, take your pets with you. Good point. Yeah, do not use regular candles. I have in a pinch when my power went out for over a week. That's when I got struck by a tornado. But regular candles can be dangerous. It falls over, start a fire. But the best thing is keep an eye out. Set up your phone for your emergency alerts if you haven't done so. And when emergency management tells you to evacuate, get the heck out. Don't try to stick it out. I have seen tropical storms do a hell of a lot of damage. It doesn't have to be a Cat 4 or 5 to create a whole lot of damage. And if this thing's going to be at least a Cat 3, yeah, you don't want to be there. I think people who want to stick it out in their house, they're taking their life in their hands, and I think they're nuts. My opinion. Disclaimer. This is my opinion. So it's time now. You know, like I said earlier, they're calling for landfall uh, in Florida either Sunday night or Monday morning at this point. It has sped up slightly, and I still think it'll speed up even more. So it will hit Florida even sooner. The track is still wide. There's room for errors in the model, and definitely because it's so far away yet. Exactly, Doc. Stuff can be replaced. You can't. So please, if you lived anywhere in Florida, Southeast Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Hey, Patty. Uh, be aware and get ready for this thing. Because as it gets closer, who knows? If that high that's said to be in place to help steer it towards Florida, if it's actually going to be a weak high, it could go right into Georgia or South Carolina or North Carolina. Great, Patty. That's cool. Where do I think it'll hit? Too far out, Storm Cuz. It's too far away. Like I say, the reason why that cone is so wide over Florida is because of the possibility of errors in the models. If you look at the spaghetti models, they are all most generally inside of that cone. But that cone, look how big it is. It goes from the Florida Keys clear up to Savannah. So anywhere in that cone, it could hit. Now that black line, whoops, why is that still on there? Let's back up here. Heck, gun it. You can tell I'm tired. Green. Boom. Okay, there we go. It's way too early to tell. But look at that cone. Clear from Savannah, Georgia, all the way down to the Keys. Now the black line down the center, that's just a suggested center of the cone. That is not saying it's going to take that particular path. Anywhere in the cone. Yeah, I know it. I got a couple hours, so I'm good to go. A lot of people uh, don't think right about this cone. It can travel outside of that cone. Some of the models are suggesting that, but they're not the more reliable models. But most likely, it's going to travel in that cone, and it can go anywhere in there. This thing could do a wobble. At one point this morning, it kind of did a little wobble there over the Virgin Islands. And the next update will be in about a little over 2 hours. That'll be the 8 p.m. That's only going to be a intermediate update. The cone update won't be until 11 o'clock tonight. And if my body will let me, I will be doing probably about an 8:30 and then after I get the 11 o'clock update, I'm not going to stay up and do the 2 a.m. I know my body is going to kill me if I try that. So there you go, folks. Any questions? Me personally, to answer that one question, where do I think it's going to hit? It's going to hit land. That's about as accurate as I can tell you. It's going to hit land. Yeah, some beach somewhere. That sounds like a song. I need to check Facebook and check on Renee. She's the one I was telling you was on that boat. I want to make sure she's okay. I met her through a game that I used to play called the Kings of Avalon. I met her on there. Really cool gal. Got the greatest job in the world, being a chef on a charter boat. Goes from island to island to island. Hey, Southpaw. Cat 1 hurricane, man. 80-mile-per-hour winds. And it sped up to 14 mile per hour. It was 13 this morning. By 8 o'clock this morning, this thing was only 60-mile-per-hour winds. Went to 70 right around that time. But now it's an 80-mile-per-hour winds on it. So that's the latest cone. I'll go ahead and show the radar again. There's the radar out of Puerto Rico. Still quite don't have a fully formed eye wall yet. It's working on it. When those storms make a complete circle right around the center, my next stream will be between 8:15 and 8:30. I'll do one on the 8 o'clock update like I've been doing. And then if my body will let me, I'll go ahead and do the 11 p.m. update. So that's my plans for now. Now, as far as tomorrow, hey, thanks for the new follow. Appreciate it. As far as tomorrow, it all depends. I know what my mind wants to do. It wants to stay up 24 hours a day and not miss anything. But I don't think my body will let me. My body can be a real bitch. Are cruise ships able to avoid? Yes. Yesterday I seen where Carnival Cruise, Disney Cruise, and one of the others had diverted from their original route, the island that they was going to, and they were going to go to the some islands to the west. Oh, believe me, when it gets close to Florida, I doubt I'll get any sleep whatsoever. How you doing, Sparrow, over there on YouTube? So, folks, hey, I hit the right button. So, as I mentioned, for those just chiming in, there is a upper level low just in front of this thing, and that's what kind of steered it away from Puerto Rico this morning. And That's what's going to cause it to make that curve, and then a high pressure system is supposed to kick it to the west and send it towards Florida. So that's the latest that I have. I'm not going to do wind probabilities right now. I'll work on that and more on the wind shear at 8 o'clock. So thanks everybody for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you like what I do and want me to keep coming to you, please donate either bits, Twitch or Amazon Prime subs, or a direct donation if you can. If you can't, I'm still here for you, man. Yeah, if you live in Florida, stay tuned to my broadcast. Next broadcast will be 8:15 or 8:30, somewhere in there, after I get me something to eat. So yeah, Patty, Doc, Jane, Skywarn, Raven, and everybody else, thank you for joining me. Yeah, that's Eastern time. So we'll see you later. Y'all take care till tonight.